The meaning of the word okay as per the Cambridge dictionary means something to agree upon or acceptable. In video game terms, it translates to a 6 out of 10, meaning the game is trash. So either the whole studio will be shut down or everyone in it will be fired. A 6 out of 10 doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. It's just there, existing in the sea of other 6 out of 10 games. Pokemon Sword and Shield are exactly those games. You play them once, go, and then you forget about them forever. I completed Pokemon Legends Arceus early this year, and that game had such a fresh new concept with how you catch Pokemon and fill the Pokedex that it revived my love for Pokemon games after what Scarlet and Violet did to it. So I went to my local video game shop and I picked up Mario Kart instead. I mean, come on, Pokemon games for past 5 years or maybe 10 years have either been total dog water or just remakes of old games. Except Legends Arceus, of course. It's a really good game and we could have gotten another one if people would have bought it instead of... I'm trying not to swear. Instead of Scarlet and Violet. The thing is, you can't even try something new because people just want the exact same thing from 30 years ago. And I'm going on a tangent. Pokemon Sword and Shield. Two versions of the exact same game. And what's the difference? Two different gym leaders and few Pokemon that are exclusive to each version. And of course the legendary Zaza Pokemon. I know that's not their real name, but what kind of names are Zacian and Zamazenta? No, might as well call them the Zaza Pokemon. I picked up Pokemon Shield instead of Sword. And my reasoning was pretty simple. When it comes to choosing between a shield and a sword, people will always go for the sword. Why? Well, because it looks cool, but not me. I'm different. I'm better. And that's the only reason I chose Shield. Yeah, that's the only reason. I remember the ride back home after I bought Shield. I didn't research anything. All I knew was this is a Pokemon game. So I thought, why not do a quick Google search? Read the reviews, get an idea of what I'll be getting into. And it was not good. Every other review was people just talking shit about the game and how it's the worst Pokemon game to ever exist. And I'll be honest with you, Pokemon fans, I was starting to regret my choice. Can this game even fill the void that was left behind by Legends Arceus? But it was too late. I already had the game, so why not decide it for myself? Now, these games released in 2019, that's like 2 years after the release of Nintendo Switch, and that also means 2 years without any mainline Pokemon games. When Sword and Shield was announced, I think it was totally fair of us to have some expectations. I mean, just a year ago before this, they released Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, the remakes of original Pokemon Yellow, and even if you ignore the quality of life improvements, which I don't think you should, but the biggest one for me was that you can now see the wild Pokemon freely roaming the world. That kind of surprised me because that's how I remember the Pokemon show being. So what new did Pokemon Sword and Shield brought to the table? It would be easier to tell you what they took away. Dynamax was the new gimmick they introduced in the games, and my reaction to it was very lukewarm. Compared to other gimmicks like Mega Evolutions, Z moves, or Terrestrialization, I think Dynamax was the weakest one because all it did was make your Pokemon big for 3 turns, and that's about it. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'll start from the beginning. I'll walk you through my experience with the game. There might be some times where I might get a little angry, but I'll try not to say anything bad. Because on this channel, we believe in being nice, in being kind. Sword and Shield take place in the Galar region, and credit where credit is due, these games are one of the most vibrant looking Pokemon games I've seen, I think. Everything is so colorful in these games, and even the desert and snow areas in this game look pretty. So you know what? Good job, Nintendo. The game starts with choosing your character. And to really immerse myself in this world of Pokemon, I too will wear the only hat I have. It looks stupid. I'm not gonna wear this. The goal of every Pokemon game has been to become the best Pokemon trainer in the entire region. The Galas region current Pokemon champion is Leon, who also happens to be the brother of your rival Hop. I love how the game introduction takes place because in the anime, the battle to be the Pokemon champion happens in a big stadium filled with people. So when I saw something similar happening during the game's intro, I couldn't help but get a little excited. I mean, battling in a huge stadium looks a lot cooler than fighting inside a gym. This intro is where you see the Dynamax for the first time, as Leon uses the Dynamax on his Charizard. Unfortunately, this is not Dynamax. This is actually Gigantamax. While Dynamax and Gigantamax both make your Pokemon bigger in size, Gigantamax also changes how your Pokemon looks. And throughout my entire playthrough, I wasn't able to Gigantamax my Pokemon, not even once. You can Gigantamax your Pokemon in two ways. The first one is you can either roam the wild areas and participate in max raids, or two, you buy the $30 DLC. The DLC gives you access to an item called Max Soup, which you then use on your Pokemon, so then they can Gigantamax. While I am aware that the DLC offers extra content, that content should have been there in the original. So I'm really not gonna pay for something that should have been there when the game first released. So the DLC was obviously out of the equation. Now my only option left was to get a Pokemon through max raids. And I tried, okay. I spent hours going from power spots to power spots, and I didn't find a single max raid that had a Gigantamax Pokemon. And holy shit, I was starting to get pissed. Without the ability to Gigantamax, the whole concept of Dynamax is useless. A Pokemon growing in size for 3 turns is nothing revolutionary. I don't want to make my Pokemon Gigantamax just because it will make it powerful. After the first gym, you'll be one-shotting almost everyone. I want my Pokemon to Gigantamax because it will make it look cool. But I can't because Nintendo is a greedy fuck. You know the starter Pokemon, the very first Pokemon that you get when you start the game? One would think at least they would Gigantamax, right? I mean, we saw Leon Gigantamax his Charizard, right? But no, for that as well, you need that $30 DLC. I wasted 40 hours of my life on this piece of shit. After the initial cutscene and meeting with Hop and Leon, you get to choose your first Pokemon. No matter which one you choose, Hop will always choose the weaker type Pokemon. I'm not sure why, usually your rival chooses the Pokemon with type advantage over yours. But I guess this is just the game's way to explain how Pokemon type works. And also maybe Hop is being cocky because he's the champion's brother. And thus shall his cockiness come to an end as I defeat Hop 2 battles in a row with only one Pokemon. And with this, we're all set to beat the gyms around the Galar region to become the next champion. The gym battles, I think, are the highlights of this game. Before challenging the gym leader, you do these mini games. I guess calling them mini games is a stretch since they don't amount to much, but they still manage to give you the feeling that the gym challenge is basically a tournament. And to become the Pokemon champion, having strong Pokemon is not enough. You should also know how to hurt sheeps or play pinball. The battle with the gym leaders always happens in a stadium with an audience, and it really adds to that sense of scale that the gym challenge is a lot more important than you might think. I mean, look at this guy, he left his job so that he could see the fights. I mean, I appreciate the dedication, but is it really worth it? The gym battles are also the only other place where you can Dynamax your Pokemon except at the max rates. And even though the Dynamax in itself is underwhelming, as I've said before, the music playing in background with the gym leader and the crowd cheering, it kind of bops. And despite the flaws that the game have, and oh boy, I'm gonna bitch about it some more, I can't deny the fact that the gym battles are some of the most fun I've had in this game. 2 gyms were even different than the rest. Like in the Dark type gym, you can't Dynamax your Pokemon, and the final gym, which is the Dragon type, you have double battles. And that was a great way to make sure that not every gym is like the other, but I wish they could have done something similar for other gym as well. Speaking of gym battles, I don't know if you noticed, but Sword and Shield also have the ability to customize your character. Great transition, by the way. And everything in this game is so expensive. What do you mean a leather bag is 89,000, whatever the currency here is? You know, before the final battle to become the champion, I went all out on customizing my character. You know, I wanted to look good as I wipe the floor with other challengers. But then I forgot that your character actually changes into a uniform when battling gyms. Yeah, the Gala region treats the gym challenge like a big sports event. That's why you wear the uniform. All that money I spent went to waste. Well, not completely waste. My league card looks pretty cool. Look, it even has flames and glitter on it. Wild area was a new mechanic they added in Sword and Shield. Wild area is this big open world area where you can catch almost 70% of the Pokemon in the game. It shows Pokemon just walking around in their natural habitat, and you can even catch the final evolutions of a lot of Pokemon, which in turn saves the hassle of going out of your way to trade with someone else. And while I like the concept of wild area, it is extremely bland. The whole area is like a big grassland with some water here and there and a patch of desert in the middle. I mean, in a wild area, you would expect Pokemon to be in their natural habitat, right? So why is Gengar out on a walk in the middle of a grassland when it's raining? Why is he in not some, cave or ruins where you would find or expect a ghost Pokemon to be? And why the weather in this game so f***ed up? Why the hell is it always raining or snowing in this place? I don't want to see no rain, no snow, no fog. I just give me the sun. They could have easily made the wild area interesting if they added something like caves for dark type or ruins, mountain, mazes, anything that's just not plain grasslands. And don't tell me that it would look weird if everything is in one area. They added a desert in the middle of a grassland. That worked. So this will work as well. Another thing that really annoyed me in the wild area is that there are a lot of higher level Pokemons and you can't catch them unless you have certain number of gym badges. Why? Why would a Pokemon care if I've beaten all the gyms or none? And this only gets worse because the spawn rate of some Pokemons depends purely on the weather. For example, Gengar is one of my favorite Pokemon. I saw Gengar early in the game, maybe after 2 or 3 gym badges, but I couldn't catch him since Gengar is level 60. And the requirement for it is to get all the gym badges. And when I got all the gym badges, I couldn't find a Gengar for days. I even checked the guides online for where he'll spawn at what time, but he didn't for some reason until one random day, I just saw him walking in grasslands. I've run out of good things to talk about this game, so now I'm just gonna talk shit. First, the catch rate. You can call me an uncle or what for comparing this to the old games, but I don't remember the catch rate being this bad. It takes multiple Pokemon to catch a Pokemon in Red, and the worst offender of them all is the Pelipper. I can't describe how much I hate this Pokemon. I think hate is a weak word to express my feelings towards this Pokemon. Let me give you some context. I was trying to catch as many Pokemon as I can to complete the Pokédex. Very normal thing to do. Then I came across Pelipper. Now the best way to catch a Pokemon is to bring its health down to red or yellow. I usually bring it to yellow just to be safe since a critical hit or a status effect can make its health 0. So I did that and then I started throwing Pokeballs. Both normal and Great Ball, which has a high catch rate. And it escaped the first ball, which is fine, it happens sometimes. But then it escaped again and again and again and again. I threw so many Pokeballs and it refused to be caught. Surely this bird is not worth 15 Great Balls, right? And as I became frustrated and impatient, I finally decided to throw an Ultra Ball. And guess what? On the very first Ultra Ball, I caught it. I wasted 15 Great Balls and I don't know how many Pokeballs on this bird. Ah! Listen, you dumb bird, you are not worth an Ultra Ball. My hate for this bird knew no bounds. So I went back to the Pokemon Center and then I released the Pelipper. I don't want this bird in my team or anywhere close to my team. And this anger within me couldn't be quenched with just that. So I went back to the area where I fought it and I just started killing every single Pelipper that I saw for the next, I don't know how many minutes or hours. Every time I killed one of those birds, a part of my sanity was lost. I decided to catch a few and release them to show them that I am above these birds and that they have no place in my perfect world. But then something happened. Something I never thought would happen to me. My game crashed. I just lost 2 hours of progress. By now you must be thinking, if you have so much issues with the game, why keep playing it? I have issues with my life too. One of the redeeming qualities of Sword and Shield are its characters. Hop, Leon, Bede, Marnie, Sonia. They are not the best, but they made the game's lackluster story bearable. Emphasis on the word bearable. Because to this day, Nintendo refuses to add voice acting in any of their Pokemon games. And it feels so weird. No voice acting in the 2D era was understandable, but now the games are 3D with proper cutscenes. You don't even need to add voice acting to every single dialogue. Just do it for the main story cutscenes. Is that too much to ask from a $1 billion company? I will now show you a clip of one of the cutscenes in the game, and it will show you how stupid it looks without voice acting. You're telling me the Pokemon company and Nintendo itself, whose net income is in billions, can't afford 10 voice actors? There's a scene in the post game where your rival Hop catches one of the legendary Zaza Pokemon, and this annoyed me so much. If you take a look at it, they didn't even bother to add a Pokeball in his hand, let alone animate him actually throwing it. Instead, you get flash banged and it cuts to the Pokeball on the ground. Mind you, this is a fully fledged AAA game with a AAA price tag, and it is still incomplete. Remember the DLCs I talked about in the beginning? Well, Sword and Shield don't have all the Pokemon in the series. Because to get the rest of the Pokemon, you need to get the DLC. I love consumerism. The DLC also added the feature so your Pokemon follows you around in the open world, a feature that was already there in the previous game. So all of this was clearly possible to be added in the base game, but they didn't. Why? The answer rhymes with money. If you take a look at Galar region's map, you'll see that it's a linear path from start to finish. There's nothing to explore. You go from point A to point B to point C. No alternating paths, nothing. Spikemuth, which is a city for Dark Time Gym, is not even a proper city. It's a straight line that starts from the entrance and ends at the gym. There are buildings, but you can't enter any of them except the Pokemon Center. Thank fucking God for that. It's like the devs don't even give a about this game. They did such a lazy job with the level design of the whole game because they know that Pokemon fans are stupid and they'll buy anything with a Pokemon tag on it, even if it's literal shit. I want to talk about the difficulty, and don't worry, I'm not gonna complain about it. I'm just gonna say that this is probably the easiest game in terms of difficulty. I didn't grind once and I was one-shotting everyone. The only time I was somewhat struggling was against the fight with Leon and the final fight with Hop. But that's because Hop had a legendary Pokemon with him. See, I didn't complain once. Even I can be normal sometimes. Speaking of Hop, I like Hop. He's a great character with one small issue. Hop doesn't know when to shut the up. He'll talk big and then get his ass beaten within the next 2 minutes. And I hated Hop in the beginning for this, because all his character was about how he's the champion's brother and how he will become the next champion. And then he proceeds to lose to me throughout the entire game. But I'm not Hop's biggest hater. That position is taken away by the devs. To give Hop a character arc, the dev decides to really f with him. After collecting the 3 gym badges, you and Hop are confronted by Bead, another trainer who, like you, is also participating in the gym challenge. Hop gets rage baited by Bead and both of them battle and Hop loses. He loses to Bead. How the f do you lose to a guy named Bead? Anyways, from here, it's only downhill for Hop. Because after this, he loses to a Team Yell grunt. A grunt. He loses to a grunt. What the hell happened to him? And then he loses again against the Kirkestra gym leader. Like, okay game, I get your point. Hop has a lot of pressure on him for being the champion's brother, but you don't have to make him lose every single battle. And because of this, I started feeling bad for Hop. During your battle with Hop in the championship qualifier, he obviously loses to you. And you can see the disappointment in his face as he comes to terms that he's just not good enough. And one would think that this is the end of Hop's suffering. But nope, because in the post game, there are these 2 goobers who challenge you and Hop, and spoiler alert, Hop loses. Again, when will his suffering end? He does get closure in the end with one final battle against you, but come on, was making him lose so many times really necessary? And that was my time with Pokemon Sword and Shield. Well, just the Shield. Despite all the flaws, which are a lot, I won't say something like, if you like the game, then I hope you suffer in hell. Listen, it's hard to explain why I enjoyed this game, even though I spent like past half an hour or so running it through the ground. I mean, the Gyra Legion is beautiful and the art style is spot on for a Pokemon game. The side characters are good and the wild area is a great concept, but it's executed very poorly. The Pokemon box being easier to access is a great quality of life improvement. You know, I don't have to keep going to a Pokemon Center if I want to change my team. Battles go exactly the same way they used to in previous game, and it's something I genuinely don't mind, even though I was furious half the time I was playing the game. It's like me and this game are in this toxic relationship. The game punishes me with crashes, lack of Dynamax, incomplete Pokedex, and the bad catch rates, but then it rewards me with the good old Pokemon gameplay of fighting other trainers and catching Pokemon. Is this Stockholm syndrome? Am I the victim here? Hi, I hope you enjoyed the video. This was just me venting out in front of a camera. Follow me on Backlogged, and I don't have any of the social media worth sharing. So yeah, this video's video game recommendation is Fire Emblem Three Houses. Play it. It's great. I say this every time. Now, how can you play it if you don't have a Nintendo Switch? Well, you can always emulate. Bye bye.